Hello, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to talk about NESARA. We're going to talk about some of the basics again and go through them in a little different format. Coming right up. Okay, so this is part one. What I want to give you is some of the basis of why we were thinking how we were thinking on this situation. Okay, so let me pull you back in 2019. In 2019, we were moving our office, which is a huge issue. I mean, people go, yeah, I've moved houses. Well, I've moved houses before too. Just multiply that by 3 when you're moving an office. Because a practice, a hearing practice that we have, Hearing Solution Centers in Tulsa, I mean, you have to notify each one of the insurances, and it's like 40, 50 different insurance types. And if you get them wrong, they won't pay you. And then you got to fill out new forms and all this other stuff. I mean, it was a crazy mess. Same time, we bought out another practice, and her database was a complete nightmare for us. And so we had to massage every bit of it to get them in the right buckets so that we could handle the patients in the right way. And so there's just so many things going on at that time frame. And we were moving, we were going 100 hours a week. My wife and I were just trying to go through it. So anyway, by the end of the year, we took a little vacation, and then we decided also to go to Denver and go see a Colorado Avalanche game because my son was getting into it. So we go see some friends because we're, from Denver area kind of thing. And we have this unbelievable event, and it's my miracle healing kind of thing. So I'm going to do the little 5-second, issue on that one. But basically in here, what we had in this situation is that, I, fall down ill about, 2 in the morning, and it's everything they can do to get me to the hospital. And there was claiming I had a severe stroke, and I must have had it for hours and hours and hours. And my wife, as a nurse, is sitting there looking at it going, "What are you talking about? It just happened." No, it didn't. And there was a big argument going on. There were, to break it down, this was a 3-day event, $142,000 of evaluation kind of things going on, maybe 13 different diagnoses, 40 pages of all kinds of diagnostics, all coming up with a big old goose egg. Nothing that they could find. But this guy is actually presenting with all kinds of crazy things in the room. Now, well, I'm not going to go through that. Basically, it's a whole healing event. It's one of my least watched videos out there. You could go find it of the miracle healing. But what I want to focus you on is that first night, okay? And that first night, they sent my wife and son home, and they feel guilty about it. But I'm so glad this occurred because it helped me understand what God was trying to do. See, Satan was trying to kill me. And it was clear I'm seeing 4 demons around me. And it took me about 6 months to understand what they were doing. They were fighting outward instead of, because there were angels, and I had prayer warriors over me. There were 4 angels fighting inward. And I'm in the middle of this screaming bloody murder all night long. I mean, I'm begging the nurse to let me up from these 4-point posy restraints. I'm fully tied down to the bed because I was psychotic most of the night. And I remember some of that, but I don't remember the whole thing. But I remember just terrified through that whole night. Now, I had been prayed over, and one of the things that, again, this took me months and months to kind of figure out, is this point of what was going on here. And there was this battle happening. And in that battle, the scriptures that were prayed over me were Psalms 91. And I frankly didn't pay a lot of attention to it. Now, I'm a Bible teacher. That's what I do. And I've read Psalms 91 multiple times, but I really didn't pay any attention to it. Now, most people spend their time on, I want to say it's verse 7, I could get this wrong, it's 6 or 7, and it says, though 1,000 may fall on your left hand, 10,000 on your right hand, the plague will not befall you. Now, the interesting part about that is that people claim that in really desperate times of life, okay, when someone's sick. Now, here's what you don't know, is that in World War I, both sides, when they would go over the trench warfare, they would claim that verse over each one of their troops when they did that. Now, most people just stop right there because the next verse is one of the most fascinating verses out there. It says, "You will only see with your eyes and witness the punishment of the wicked." Now I said, you kind of counted it out. You'll only see with your eyes and witness the punishment of the wicked. If I'm an English guy, okay, I'm a writer, I've done 18 books, and if someone wrote something like that, I'd like go rewrite that, because why don't you say, he visualized, he saw it, or whatever you want to, use. You don't have to say it 4 different ways. But God was actually making a point when he had David writing that to people. The problem that you have to see is that if all scriptures God breathed approved for teaching or reproof, 2 Timothy 3:16, and in I think it's Matthew 5, and it says not one jot or tittle will exit the law before it's all fulfilled. So when we have these 2 scriptures, there are a whole bunch of other things that come out of this, that we have to place all scriptures in an order. There is an order when they are approved or done. Now, there's a whole bunch of Old Testament scriptures that talk about the first coming of Christ, some of them in Psalms 22, and just talks all about his death. There's a whole bunch of different scriptures that Christ fulfilled in his first coming. And there's a snot load of them that are happening and that, I didn't say that in a mean way, but there's a ton of them in for the second coming and the millennial reign of Christ. Now, when we come to the millennial reign, to the end time issues, the punishment of the wicked, frankly, hasn't happened. There's never been a time of a punishment of the wicked. And so you go, what is that? Now, if you believed in a pre-tribulation rapture of the church, which is before the tribulation, a rapture harpazo event where the saints are out of here, well, you wouldn't see an event of witnessing the punishment of the wicked. If you believe in a post-tribulation rapture, which is actually morphed since about 2001, it morphed into a concept of the pre-wrath rapture. Now, the post-trib rapture people will take that one and they kind of apply it. Why do they say that? Because what they're saying is near the end of the tribulation, some people will say a couple months to a couple days or whatever that circumstance is. And there's a long story, and I have some points in there with that. And I teach in my Hope in the Last Days series. But it says, and people pull these scriptures over, and it's in the epistles, and I'm blanking it out right off the top of my head here. But basically, we're not appointed for wrath. So he's talking to the church. And so they pull that scripture out and go, well, we're not going to be appointed for wrath. So when the really bad stuff happens, you're out of here. Okay. So when you apply those 2 scriptures, well, you're not going to be here. Now, who would actually be here on the great day of the wrath of the Lamb? This is the last day of the tribulation, who would see the real wicked stuff. Now, what is the wicked stuff? Now, that's in Revelation 14, verse 17, verse 15, and so Revelation 14, 17, 18, and 19. And it talks about how the angels are pulling out the grapes and they stomp them in the winepress of the wrath of the Lamb. So we're talking about that last day where they're really beating the wicked up. So if you're looking at that event, who would be here at that time frame? Well, there's going to be the remnant. The remnant is the last 1/3 of the Jews. And you say, well, that could be for them. Not the way that this is written, okay? Those are the people that go into the millennial reign. Now, there's also the nations, which are people who come to saving knowledge at the very, 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 very end, and they go into the millennial reign, which you have to fulfill the over 300 verses about that. Now, why am I saying all this stuff? It's because this was the key element of my healing experience. It's that I'm going to witness and see the punishment of the wicked. Because that verse, and I think it's in verse 7 of Psalm 91, that it stipulates that we're going to see that. And if we haven't seen it before, it has to occur in Scripture. And I think that's what we're about ready to see. And that is endemic. That's inside of the whole point of this event, the EBS that's about ready to come. And so this is Wednesday, the 12th of October, and you're going to see that event. So that is one of the backdrops of a biblical response to this whole situation. So we're going to talk a lot more about this in some subsequent episodes, and I'm going to pop them out there as soon as we can kind of get them done. So hope that helps you out. Thank you so much.